Welcome back to Voice Global. This is Pete Erickson, your host, and I am really excited to be chatting with our next guest. Some of the folks in our industry have been steeped in the smart home revolution for many, many years, whether it involves audio and music, lighting, smart home control systems. There are those among us that have so much knowledge in this area and a lot of context for like what's happening now. As voice controls now have entered the mainstream and starting to impact the way that we interact with our homes, and that background is something that I'm excited to talk about, and also talk about where the future is headed. So without further ado, I want to introduce our next guest. His name is Paul Williams. He is the GM of Product Management and Growth at GE Lighting, which is now a Savant company, which is something we'll certainly chat about because that's news since last time we chatted. Paul, welcome to Voice Global.
Hey, Pete, thanks. Pleasure to be here. Love this show. It's always good to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, well, I guess, the big news since we interviewed you last year is that this acquisition by Savant. And tell us a little bit about that, and what was this kind of strategic impetus for that acquisition, and that would be great.
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, pretty exciting. Right in the middle of the pandemic, we're going through an acquisition, which is a lot of fun, even when there's not a pandemic. Even more burdensome when there is a pandemic. So a lot of excitement this last year. So Savant, for those of you that aren't familiar, Savant is a 15-plus-year-old company, been in the smart home and residential smart home, and also light office as far as commercial businesses, for providing the best possible home automation, smart home interfaces, and solutions for customers that have professionally installed smart home systems. And so been doing that for a little over 15 years. As the listeners may know as well, GE Lighting, a 130-plus-year-old company, really focused in on bringing quality light to consumers, trusted brand, and there. So what happened is that we were GE as a organization, the full General Electric, was looking at their different business operations. And one of those business operations was GE Lighting. They've really, if you look at their history, and you can go back and look and see what they've done over the last probably 7 or 8 years, is they've really been shedding off all of their B2C companies and really focusing in on B2B. So that is where they believe their strong suit is. And as such, they were looking for a good home for GE Lighting to fall into that would fit it nicely. We have been on a journey here for the last 3+ years into going into the smart home, and we launched a smart home brand of products called C by GE. So we got the attention of Savant. Savant is, in addition to providing quality audio, video, smart home, also has lighting as part of the smart home technologies that they produce and ship worldwide. And GE Lighting made perfect sense for where they were heading, both looking at getting deeper into the lighting atmosphere, but also making sure that we bring in the smart home element as well. And really now with both of our companies coming together, we literally have solutions for smart home that go all the way from the retail shelf, Amazon.com if you want, all the way up to professionally installed smart homes that are so big you'd lose yourself in the house kind of automation solutions, and everywhere in between. And so really we're really become this juggernaut of home automation, smart home technology.
Well, it sounds like a great marriage between the two companies and all the work that you've done. I think one thing I noticed too about our interview, it looks like you're at an office.
I am. So that since the last time we talked, we were pretty locked down back then.
Oh, yeah.
We've been back in the office for a couple of months now. We started with doing these flexible days. We called them collaboration days, and so Tuesdays and Wednesdays of every week, where team was comfortable. And what we've done is we're on the Nela Park, which is this historic campus, the first industrial really complex or industrial office site in the world. And it's really, if you look at all the modern innovations in lighting, most of them came from this very campus here. So we've got
And for our viewers, you're in, is it Salt Lake?
It's in Cleveland, Ohio. So
well, I saw the Salt Lake. I remember that from last time, and I'm like, I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute, Real Salt Lake. I see your scarf back.
Yeah, I'm from Salt Lake. I've been in the Cleveland area for a little over 3 years.
That's right. That's right.
Brought from Salt Lake over here to GE Lighting. We're in the Cleveland area here.
Go Tribe.
Yep, exactly. Go Tribe. So so really, if we look at Nila Park, it had a lot of space. So what we did is we started to move people out and created a lot of space so that we were able to get the social distancing necessary for folks to feel safe and secure coming in the office. So a lot of protocols, including every day when you came in, we had people checking temperatures and all the things that are going on there. So we've done a really good job of that. We're just getting ready to get out of that. Governor DeWine here in Ohio has stated that tomorrow, we'll see where we get tomorrow, but tomorrow is supposed to be the mask lift restriction day. So we'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, what we've been doing is continue to practice social distancing here at GE Lighting. We were able to bring people back. It was nice to start to see people rather than just my four walls every day. So it's been great to be back in the office.
Well, that's fantastic news. No, I can attest on a personal note. We hosted my father-in-law's 90th birthday yesterday. And all of our family members, extended family, are all vaccinated. And it just felt wonderful. It felt good to just be able to hang out. And so fingers crossed that we continue to be able to get back together. I think it's so important, and Voice Global was launched as a live stream event. It was supposed to be, always intended to be, a live stream event. Of course, last year, everything was live streamed. This year, largely, most things up to now have been, but we're certainly contemplating what does a return to live sooner than we had really actually planned look like. So we're navigating that as well. I think the biggest thing, is that there's a real desire to get back together. And I think that's going to be good for our personal lives, our mental health, and for our businesses as well. So I'm happy to see you back in the office, Paul. Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic, just from a standpoint of habits and how people are using lighting. Has there been, if you look at other industries, like the payments industry has revolutionized very quickly around contactless payments and, the wallets that are on our phones. But how has the lighting industry or the smart home industry, what have you noticed from your vantage point there, Paul, in terms of like our habits and how we interact with our homes?
Yeah, so we've noticed a lot, quite honestly. I'll start with lighting, and I can move right into the greater smart home. First thing we found is that people were living in probably poorly lit homes. It was crazy the amount of purchasing that happened with just normal lighting and bringing better lighting into homes. And as we dug into that and started to look at what's driving that consumer behavior, people were getting by with the lighting that was in the room, and it was good enough, and they were kind of in that category. When you started to use that same space that you were using for one activity, maybe it was just a kitchen area where it was like meal prep, but meals were eaten in the living room or the family room or great room, and then that space now became a breakfast place. It became an office space. It became an educational space. It became an entertainment space. And suddenly people found that the lighting that they had in that room was not adequate to be able to provide that dynamic experience of changing out to what was happening in that room. And also a lot of the research that we've done shows that, and not us personally, but that we gather from other folks, is that, lighting has a big play. It's a big part of what goes into your healthiness and also into your attitude and how you feel and your mental state. And so having lighting done in a way that allows for you to feel better about that space, or feel more alert, or even at night help you get to better sleep because we're helping to produce melatonin, are all things that customers started to realize. Circadian rhythms, another way to think of that. But even just getting enough lighting in the space so that people could do their homework, could do what their regular work environment tasks right there in that space. And so it was important that people change their lighting. So we saw that habit happen. next thing was that people are spending more, were spending more time in their space. And so they wanted some of these creature functions. They wanted to have better audio, better video. If I'm going to watch a movie, I want it to be on a big screen television. I was getting by with a smaller television. I want it to be a bigger television. So we saw a lot of big televisions that were sold during this last year. And then the other interesting part of that is the move to outdoors, especially as we got into the summertime last year. People weren't going on vacations. People were staying at home. And so a lot of people did a lot of enhancement with their outdoor spaces where possible. If they had outdoor spaces, they were improving them. They're making them so they're mini vacation spots, right? Places I can go and relax, be outside, get some vitamin D from the sun, and relax with my family in safety and security. And so we saw a lot of that. We believe that will continue. I know we just talked about this need to get back to office environments and to live sessions and being able to go to, Voice Global Live here. That's important. I think that will help us with a lot of things you mentioned, the mental state. It's certainly, we miss a lot by not being in the office, just by the casual water cooler conversations that happen where you learn about things that are going on that you need to be part of. And you miss out on those in this environment that we've been in. It's tough to have those dialogues. You can force them, you can try to get people on to a conference call, but it's just not the same. And so we need to have that. But I think what we're seeing is that people have rediscovered their homes. Some have rediscovered their families. And so we're going to see a lot of people continue to spend a lot of time at home and use that home, I think, a little more, I would say more purposeful than they have in the past.
I think those are all really, really great insights about how we used our homes. You're right. I mean, it became so much more for us. It did become our education space, our play space, our family time. I mean, it was everything. And now that our kids are started back in school, we definitely notice an improvement in their mental health, and definitely, and just kind of how the family flows. I will attest that I gave up my office when the pandemic started, but I look forward to that time. There are so many things about being in an office that just naturally lend themselves to operating on a more even keel, getting up and walking to the coffee shop, and or just being able to run those errands, go to the bank or whatnot. I mean, there's just so many things. Interesting though, how much of a role lighting plays in our mental health. I don't think we realized it as well. And we worked on our own lighting and trying to improve the lighting in the house. We swapped out all of the bulbs, for example, in any of our canisters because we didn't like the way that the lights were. So pretty interesting. Let's talk a little bit about what's the trend and where are things going relative to lighting and smart home in general. Where does GE and Savant see that headed?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We see that continue to head down this path of having purposeful light based on the activities that are occurring in that space, and even on the time of day. And so circadian rhythm, and having that being automated for a consumer. I think many people, myself included, would be hard pressed to tell you what is the Kelvin setting that it should be when I wake up in the morning, and what should it be when I go to bed at night, and what is it during different phases during the day. I couldn't tell you. Well, I can't actually, but a lot of people can't tell you what that needs to be. And having a solution that can do that for you based on, I turned the light on because it's 1:00 in the afternoon, the light level is here, the color of light that I'm receiving is here. And having that happen automatically for a consumer is something that's really important so that they don't need to think about that, but it's based on the human physiology of what that circadian rhythm looks like for people. For that to be the best possible light when they need it in that space. So that's one trend that we're seeing there. The next trend is really in full color lighting. So we have seen a massive explosion in people wanting full color lighting. So not only can I make it to have circadian rhythm during the day and change the temperature of the light, the white balance, as it's called, in that lighting, it's color lighting. I want to have blues and purples and reds. And really cool for entertaining, really cool for gamers. A lot of folks that have got into gaming, if they weren't already into gaming, some entered into gaming in COVID, and some went even further into gaming. And we're seeing a lot of these interactive environments where the games themselves send commands out to the lighting around you so that that atmosphere is part of what you get in this gaming experience. We've seen that, and also that extends into entertainment.
Right.
Having lighting behind television, you saw a lot of strip lights going behind televisions. I can create this great ambiance for the room and provide the best possible moving, watching atmosphere. So we've seen color lighting, purposeful lighting for health that has occurred during that time frame, and we'll continue to see that push further as we move on here, because people have started to get even deeper into each one of those areas.
So let's talk a little about interaction. How big a role has voice played for you there at GE, and what kind of how are you seeing people interact with lighting through their smart devices?
So I would say voice is made for lighting. It is the best possible interface for lighting. I can create scenes and then use voice to enact those scenes. So I don't have to open up my mobile device, which I can do quite easily still. It's just so easy to go, Alexa or Google, turn on entertainment scene, and have it turn it on. And now all the lighting in the house is adjusted correctly. I can even adjust temperature in more sophisticated, like our Savant systems, to be able to adjust temperatures and everything else around through the house. So it plays a big part of lighting. It has been an important part because it's the things that are easy. I can tell real quickly to go 50% lighting in this room, to be able to turn on, turn off. Voice
Right.
commands make it really simple to interact with lighting.
And are a lot of those interactions going through Alexa and Google, or are you building any native onboard lighting or your own controllers for voice interaction?
So today, everything that we're doing is either through Alexa or through Google. We have some later on this year. We'll have Apple HomeKit going on with at least the GE products as well. That already exists within our Savant product line. If I look at the greater organization, that we have Apple as well, HomeKit capability. Today, it hasn't involved our own voice devices that don't go through one of those three services. However, as we look to the future, it's interesting to see some of the data that we look at when it comes back to consumer consumption of these smart speakers or smart voice assistants that we see. We see that it's started to taper off a little bit. It was pre-COVID starting to taper. COVID caused it to bump a little bit. People started to discover that, hey, this thing's great because I can order all of my groceries from here and they'll get delivered. I can order food and the food gets delivered. I don't have to go out. I don't have to do anything. And so people discovered that there was a need for these devices. But we're starting to see that level off again, going back to pre-COVID kind of times. As you start to peel that onion apart, not the only reason, but one major reason is there are folks that are concerned about their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
They're concerned about these companies that have other financial agendas, I guess is the best way to say it, that are in place, or financial models. And so folks that are not necessarily willing to share data, share their information, share their usage habits, that have opted not to go into smart speakers. And so we think that in order to serve that part of the populace, these standalone voice solutions, integrated voice solutions, are certainly going to be a necessity and important for products moving forward.
Yeah, I think that you bring up some of the I believe the industry is doing a good job of addressing a lot of these issues. There are a number of advocacy groups that have started up, Open Voice and others, that are really looking at how do we tackle some of these challenges and get ahead of them. And certainly the entirety of the AI industry is looking at privacy and bias and all these other things. And it's a parallel track to the commercialization of the technology. So we're definitely going to be having those conversations and continuing to look at that. Let's turn a little bit to kind of the art of the possible, right? So what does the smart home of the future look like, in terms of, where you're all sitting? By the way, I would love to sometime come and see your what the home of the future is like. I'm sure you have set those up.
Oh yeah,
what's possible. Let's talk about art of the possible, and let's let folks in on what does it look like in the future.
Yeah, so we're really on the cusp of something I find is very exciting. So, and you mentioned it, and it's a term that gets used a lot, but it's AI and machine learning. But if we think about what that benefit could be for our homes and for our smart homes, it's pretty incredible to think through. So think about this home of the future that anticipates your needs based on your usage habits, what's happened, based on you being in the space and your child being in the space, or only your child being in the space, or your spouse and you being in the space at the same time, or you and people that it doesn't identify that it knows. To be able to make some assumptions based on those things, or predictions based on what's happening there, is pretty awesome. If you can think about this environment that I walk into, because I'm the only person in that space, the lighting's set to the level that I like it based on this time of day. Could be because I want circadian rhythm, so I want that to happen, or that my preference is that, hey, when I come home at night, I want it to be blue because I know I'm going to do the following.
Mm-hmm.
Have those things happen for me automatically is something that AI can make possible for us, and it can also make this so that it can suggest. What we have found, if we look at the history of smart home, you can make a home do pretty much anything you want it to do today with the smart home technology that's out there.
Right.
It's there, and it can be programmed to do so. But
Sure.
but program's not dynamic. Programming is, it's set, and it does these things at this time, or when I press this button, or when I say this voice command. It's
Right.
not dynamic based on me being in the space and others being in the space, or me not being in the space at all. Those things don't happen dynamically, and that's the part that is going to get exciting about having that AI or machine learning part be part of that. But the thing that we learned from having these fully automated houses is that if things happen in the house that you are unaware of, or you didn't intend to happen, you feel this sense of out of controlness that's happening. It's not in my control. And so we believe, and we're not the only ones, because we see this happening even with some of the voice assistants today that have both rolled out. If you look at Google and Amazon, rolled out similar technologies here, with making some suggestions for the consumer about, hey, we've noticed the following behavior or the following pattern. Do you want to automate that? Would you like that
Right.
just to happen? And if we can do it in that way, we believe that's a much better way to be able to interact with a consumer in a way that shouldn't alarm them, shouldn't concern them. They won't get nervous about those things happening. So AI and machine learning, we think, are going to continue to move forward and actually push us forward quite significantly in the smart. And if we look at that smart home of the future, the other thing is that things are becoming more connected, not less connected. We'll just continue to see that everything that comes out has some connection. And even
Right.
if it's not for control, it's for monitoring. And I want to understand, what is the energy consumption of these devices?
Sure.
Could I be living more ecologically by having those things only operate during these times of the day? That could help the power grid, could help my energy savings, could help the energy cost savings alone.
Right.
What are the things that these devices could do? And then having that all running in the background to live the best way I possibly can, saving and conserving where possible to also help the planet. So those are all things that we think are certainly on their way and coming today.
Well, I certainly can appreciate, especially the efficiency. I think our homes are incredibly inefficient the way that we're running them today, and look forward to how AI and machine learning can really just help us create the most efficient home we can live in, reduce usage, and actually improve experience at the end of the day. And I think that's one of the themes I think I hear coming out of this talk, is that really it's about improving our experience, the experience in our homes, or even possibly where we work, in terms of like our lighting, our surroundings, the sounds that are surrounding us, our ability to interact and control. And it's funny. I always go back to the kind of the text messaging revolution that happened when we went from using our voice to asynchronous texting. A lot of people couldn't imagine that would actually happen, that voice calls would one day be, would not be the primary way that we would communicate. And I think that the same thing is going to happen with our home. Is just the way that we interact and communicate with our home is going to change. We can't imagine right now not going to a dial or opening up an app and then controlling that app. But we're not. I think we're already there. It just hasn't rolled out yet on a broad basis. But it's exciting. I think that the home of the future is a place that does lend itself to just a better experience overall. And what I really appreciate of what you said is a healthier experience. How can we feel healthier in our environment to make us, just more productive? And certainly, I think the pandemic has highlighted the need for that level of health in our own environment. Paul, it's been really great to chat with you again. So much has happened. I'm so happy to see you back in the office, and I will be joining you there soon. Getting back to my old space. And I want to know that you'll come back and chat with us at the Voice Summit in the fall, and then we will be announcing some in-person activities. So we'd be great to see you in person.
I look forward to that, Pete. As always, a pleasure to be on your show, and definitely open invitation anytime you want to come out and take a look at the smart home of the future. Happy to host you and have you take a look at that. So looking forward to live events for sure. Can't wait to get in front of people. So
well, definitely, I am definitely up for getting back out in the world. I miss the travel, and then the travel was a big part of, I think, a good mental health for those of us in business as well. It just getting out, seeing different cities and people and places, and experiencing different restaurants and all that. So certainly travel is high on my list. So I'll take you up on that offer. And I have to add before we close out here, I'm a huge Seattle Sounders fan. So now I know somebody I can.
Yeah, we can do some general ribbing then.
Yes. Then I know they've got a good little rivalry going, the Real Salt Lake and the Seattle Sounders. So I think they have a game coming up actually. Anyway, Paul, thanks again for joining us here, and hope to be chatting with you again soon.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.